This week on Under NDA.
It was so embedded in us that was wrong that we're like, oh, she's an idiot. How could she have done that? Instead of like, this was a simple mistake. It's not life ending. But that was career ending for her. I think she was hired another season after that, but only for him to torture her for that season and bring it up all the time and bully her that she no longer wanted to dance.
Welcome to this episode of Under NDA. We are super excited because so far we've really focused on incredible, absurd, and shocking stories from corporate America. But, these stories aren't limited to tech companies or other sort of corporate environments, but they're all around us. And so we've decided for the next two episodes, we're going to take a little bit of a detour from corporate America, from the world of tech, and focus on yet another industry that has amazing stories we want to uncover and chat about. It's an industry that draws incredible curiosity, and we're excited to unpack a lot of it with an amazing professional who is here to join us this week. So if you've ever wondered about this industry, it is the world of ballet. And so buckle up and welcome to Inside the Secret World of Ballet Part 1. And joining us today is Sarah, an ex-professional dancer who has seen it all. And today she's going to let us into the underpinnings of ballet. So Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
So Sarah, we would love for you, a lot of people don't know about sort of how the world of ballet works. So we're just going to ask you some tactical questions, and then we'll talk about the other stuff. Here's the first thing is what first got you into ballet?
I got in when I was 4, and my older sister was auditioning for the local ballet company's Nutcracker. And I was just there watching. I was outside the door watching, and the director saw me and I was just this small, non-fidgeting, quiet person paying attention. And he was like, I need her. Like an obedient child. That's what I need.
Obedient child.
So I got in to the Nutcracker that year and then started just taking classes. And my sister eventually quit, and I stuck with it. And I continued to be the obedient, quiet child. And I stuck with that director for almost 27 years.
It is, the word obedient, as I've heard from multiple people that I've met in the ballet world, seems to be kind of a theme. Is it just generally kind of a factor that goes along with being in the world of ballet, that it's instructional?
I think it was definitely back then. I think things are changing now because people are finding their voices just more out in the world. But definitely back in my training and my career, you're lucky to be there. You should be thankful to be there. And you do as you're told without question and without conversation.
What's so interesting about that is that's kind of a theme that is also in corporate America these days during bad economies, where people say you should just be thankful. So you said 27 years. How long was that professional?
I guess I got into the company when I was 17. That's when they started paying me. But I grew up in a school that was attached to the company, so we were always working with the company. I was always in the company's productions, so I was always in their professional shows since I was 4. But then as a company part since I was probably 14, and then I was actually hired when I was 17, and I left dance when I was 31.
Gotcha.
And I would say about the obedient part is, I also do think it goes hand in hand with ballet, because I think a really specific personality is drawn to ballet. Like, I like being told what to do. I like having a schedule. I like knowing this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. And ballet, there's no in between. You're either have your leg up here or down here. It's very clear guidelines and boundaries there. And I think that there's a personality that really works for. And that also tends to be the person that shuts up and just says, yes, sir, too. So I think the other people are filtered out.
No.
They-
Well, so, could, yeah, what did Ross just say?
Well, I guess what I kind of inherently wonder is like for that type of individual who likes that structure, that direction, and I'm sure we won't get into this in a minute, but where do you draw the line in terms of, yeah, I appreciate the direction and the structure, but something that, we may be getting to a point now where something's off, or I'm being directed in a way that is properly unfair or affecting me, my health, my emotional well-being. Like, how easy is it to find that when you inherently desire that structure and direction?
Well, it's really difficult, especially, I mean, it took me until I was 31 and
Yeah.
we can get there of why I left because that was a really big blow up of story. But I think it for me it was also really difficult because at our school we weren't allowed to leave. So most people in ballet schools go away for the summer. They go to summer programs, they see what else is out there. For us, we weren't allowed to do that. So I really had no idea how other people were living and being treated. So, I mean, I always relate it to a cult upbringing, and it really was that we were so insular in our group. We barely went to school because we were being hired to dance with the company throughout high school. So I did graduate high school in school, but it was so limited. My presence was so limited. So for me, I just never questioned it until one day I questioned it. And I don't know if that was just maturing and growing up a little, but it took me quite a long time.
So you talk about, just having that moment, like, what became evident to you? Like, what was it that you suddenly turned around and said, like, whoa, this is just not right?
I don't know if there, well, I witnessed my director bully and demean people my whole life. It never was specifically on me, so I was always pretty safe, but I was very aware that it was happening, and then one day, out of nowhere, it did turn on me, and this was after my entire life of being loyal to this man and standing up for him in the dressing room, and, when people are like, "He never gives us 5-minute breaks, he works us," and I was like, "That's just a work ethic, like, why wouldn't we want to be working?" So I was always standing up for him and having his back, and then he turned on me, and that's when I was like, "What am I doing? This doesn't make any sense. I've given you my life." I mean, I've literally given him my life, my childhood, and everything, and out of nowhere, he started the bullying of me, and it got really bad. It was 2 weeks of it, and I walked out on a dress rehearsal.
Oh. Do you, so with that, uh, I imagine this is not like a situation that was unique to you, but when you look across the world of ballet, is this like pretty common behavior? Like, what do you see? You obviously, a lot of people in ballet and different ballet companies, um, especially the preeminent ones. Like, what is your sort of assessment there?
I don't think there's anywhere particularly that dancers are treated well. I don't think that's the culture of it. I think my treatment with this director, everybody's treatment under this man was a little more excessive than most people. It was very dictator, trying to make a place in the world. He was trying to make a place in the world, and that's how he was going to do it. And I say that because I have danced at other companies and I had other directors, and it was way looser. Um, and but when I was there, I was like, this isn't professional. I my idea of professionalism was having a dictator like this.
Mm.
And so I do believe that other companies have a little more respect for their dancers in some ways. I still think you're going to get the fat talk. You're still going to make no money. You're still going to be a third class citizen in that company, but it's not quite as severe as what I experienced and witnessed under this director.
There's, it's very interesting because, yeah, a lot of parents want their kids to go into ballet. And actually, we definitely want to spend some time talking about how you've taken this and created something amazing in your own nonprofit that you've created. Maybe let's talk about that for a bit, and then we can get back to the
Well,
other.
I mean, I guess that's the interesting part of had a I love ballet, and I'm so thankful for my training in ballet because I really believe in all of what it can offer, the discipline, the accountability, the learning how to show up and work hard and all of that. I really believe in all of that. So I do have a nonprofit where I scholarship students that wouldn't otherwise be able to dance because of lack of money in their home. Because I want everybody to have the opportunity to go into dance. However, I also, as a teacher, have fully changed the environment in the studio because I don't believe in intimidation as a way of teaching. And that's how I was taught was you either do this or you're out or you're stupid or you're worthless or you're this. And so I want that to continue through the studios. I don't think it fully has. I think people are so stuck in the way that we were brought up. And it's kind of my generation right now that's going back in the studio and becoming the teachers. And there's people that really believe like, well, it was fine for me. It worked for me. So they're just kind of cycling through again. And so I do have this nonprofit, but I'm also pretty particular about where I scholarship the kids and making sure that it's a good environment that I really believe they'll be nurtured in and find their confidence and their growth and empowerment there.
Do you? I have so many questions. Do you? So, in environments that are challenging in terms of these sort of obedience environments, what happens? What is generally the dynamic between the group of dancers? Like, does it create just competition that is?
Uh, I feel like that's I mean, of course, some, but I do feel like that's a misconception about ballet is, the girls are putting glass in each other's shoes and, we all hate each other. That is completely opposite of my experience is that's why I stayed in ballet too, was my best friends were there. It was so fun. It was my peer group was there. And yes, there's competition and your directors are always trying to pit you against each other, but my experience is that for the most part, we all bonded more over that. And for sure, there was a lot of trauma bonding in our environment, but I think we're all there positively pushing each other. Like I'll look at her and she's getting a part, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get that one next time.
Yeah.
I'm not hating her. She didn't do the casting. That said, I definitely had a person in one of my companies that to this day I consider her my nemesis.
Would you tell? Dude, you gotta tell us.
She, again, obedient child, never spoke a word, always just did what I was told. And she was this person who didn't grow up with my director and felt more freedom to speak freely. And she did. And I was like, why do you get to do that? And he loved her and she got all the lead roles. And when we would do choreography, she would say, oh, I can't do this. Oh, I don't like this. And he would change it. And we would all have to change the choreography for her. And I was like, if I ever did or said that, his head would explode and be like, my child, my baby, how could you do this? Like, figure it out. Like, he would scream at me if I ever did that. And she did not work well with others. She was so jealous of everybody else and yet still getting all the lead roles. I was in the core my whole life with getting principal roles here and there, but I'd always end up in the core at some point because I was willing to dance and work with others, where she would like purposely be terrible at the core so that she couldn't do it. And and that behavior, that actually kind of started my demise and my realization of why am I working so hard? Why am I so obedient? Why have I done this forever? If he's going to say to her, oh yeah, you're sugar plum every night. Oh yeah, you're this, I started questioning what I was working for by seeing her behavior and getting away with it.
Yeah. What is, so Woody has daughters. I don't know. Woody, do your daughters dance? Are they into ballet?
Interestingly enough, so yes, I have a few daughters, and they're all small. They all did ballet for a couple of years, and they really liked it. But it was a little tiny school in the corner of a building. It wasn't associated with any kind of larger programs or anything like that. So it was purely like for recreational purposes, and they enjoyed it. But we realized pretty quickly that it wasn't. They didn't have a future in it.
Yeah.
It's like,
If you, so Sarah, as you sort of look, so think of like we take these moments and then we just sort of, hopefully turn things positive out of it. If you were starting a ballet company, if you were talking to other parents, and saying, hey, like, these are the things that you should look out for in a ballet company, or like, this is sort of how I would formulate this to be the antithesis of this person. What would that look like?
I think it's really important for parents to continue to be involved. I mean, ballet companies will do anything in their power to keep the parents out of the doors and uninvolved. They do not want you to be in that room or looking around. And I think continuing to ask questions and really talk to your kids about what's going on in there, and just checking in with them, and having open dialogue with your kids and making sure that this is really what they want to do. But also to students in the studio, I think it's important to remember, well, I guess this is parent and students, to remember that oftentimes the people in the studio, the teachers don't know that much. They know ballet, and that's what they know. But as far as like nutrition and cross training and healthy bodies, that's not their area of expertise. So I think it's really important to talk to other people outside of the ballet studio and making sure that the things they're hearing inside the ballet studio are correct and not just going off. I know, like, my parents, and the parents that I was growing up with in my age group, they just were like, well, they're the experts, so I guess this is right, because what do they know about ballet? And yeah, you might not know about ballet, but ask other people, ask other professionals, go around and say, my kid's in ballet and they just heard this. Is that normal? Should I be concerned? And if you don't want your kid hearing something, then it's right for concern. Even if somebody's like, oh, yeah, that's just like a coach saying something. If that doesn't feel right to the student or to the parent, you say something or you take them out. It's okay for that not to be the right way of teaching you because everybody's so different.
yeah. Sarah, do you have any? I think there's probably a lot of, whether it be misconceptions or what people think of ballet from the outside, and then of course there have been some movies that have come out in the last decade or so that have shed a light on
Yeah.
what the extremes could look like. But do you have any interesting kind of lesser known stories or practices that kind of shed a light on what truly does happen behind the scenes, or maybe that's lesser known, and what 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 great instruction looks like, what great direction looks like versus the opposite end of that? Do you have any
Well, I don't
stories
know
or
if I
examples you
know
can point
what
to?
great instruction looks like because I don't
Okay.
think I ever experienced it. But I think just as far as what people think from the outside world to what actually happens is it's a full-time job. We're working for 8 hours, usually 6 days a week. And it's really just, I mean, I just think people can't understand what we're doing all day. And we're dancing and rehearsing and hanging out. And we're there. As far as like inside stories, I don't I don't think I can say anything because it's so normal. to me.
Okay.
My 8 hours a day was.
What does the 8 hours a day look like? Like, what do you do in those 8 hours?
So you have an hour and a half class
Mm-hmm.
to start, usually a 15-minute break to put point shoes on or get a snack, and then you have probably about a 3.5 hour rehearsal, and half hour to an hour lunch, and then another couple hours of rehearsal. And all of that's also just like, maybe you're not called. You could also work an hour a day a lot of times if you're not called to rehearsal. But for us, I mean, that's like a normal company, but for our company, we had to go stand there. Even if you weren't in the part, you just go and stand for 8 hours and
Yikes.
yeah.
So given the rigor, given the structure, given the discipline that exists around the art form that is ballet, when you go and run a large production and the company has been practicing for this production for months, if not
Mhm.
longer, what happens when somebody messes up on stage? What's the reaction behind the scenes or after the curtain comes down? Like,
Oh, you're fanning
what's at
your
risk? Yeah.
Um,
fan.
well, so I was in. I have two examples of things that have happened in two different companies. In one company with my tyrant boss, one girl's point shoes came untied in the middle of the show. Not, I mean, you can't think of anything worse than
Yeah.
this happening, of point shoes coming untied. And he was backstage watching on the monitor, and he just was like, "What the fuck?" Like he was like, "You're dead, you're dead." Sorry, her name, but she knows this happened. And I mean, it. All of us were just like, we were just. It was so scary. It was so scary that this happened, and there's so much. It was so embedded in us that that was wrong, that we're like, "Oh, she's an idiot. How could she have done that?" Instead of like, "This was a simple mistake. It's not life ending." But that was life ending, and it was career ending for her. Um, she I think she was hired another season after that, but only for him to torture her for that season and bring it up all the time and bully her that she no longer wanted to dance. So that was her experience. I had an experience when I was taking a break from that director and I was dancing for another company that was very relaxed and chill. It was in California. It was like on California time. And uh, I I had the fear of messing up in me so deep inside me, and I was in a performance and I messed up, and I had skipped one part, and I ended up in the back of the stage, but I was on stage and I was standing next to somebody. I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, what do I do? What do I do? What? Oh my god, I'm supposed to be up there. Oh my god, what do I do?" And I was so totally panicking, ready for the wrath to fall on me when I got off stage. And the ballet master had been watching, and I was just like tiptoeing around him when I saw him, and he didn't even notice. He was just, and then I told him, he was like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay. I had no idea." And I was like, "Oh, I guess it's not life ending." So, two ends of the spectrum there, but I definitely had a lot of fear performing because I was so worried about messing up, and I had a lot of stage fright for that reason.
What is like the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on stage?
Well, besides me falling off the stage one time as a small child.
I just, I was trying to like, I was like, oh, should we bring this up? This is,
Okay,
the, the video is,
Oh, it's on video.
it's on
so
video.
it is,
Oh, fantastic.
maybe we should publish it after this, but
You
so
know
you guys,
that video of me falling? I was in a that was not that was not ballet even, that was in a play Oliver, and I was in 4th grade, and I
Oh,
danced myself right off the stage, and I popped back up, but I did fall, this wasn't a performance, it was a dress rehearsal, so it's also on video, and in my professional career, I fell, and I, again, bounced back up, um, and I have fallen a couple times on stage, some of them how always videoed, but
You're not truly a performer unless you've fallen on or off the stage at least once in your career, right?
Yeah. So I've hit my quota for that, and luckily we can rewatch it over and over again.
So, as we wrap up, I would love for you to be able to plug your nonprofit, let people know what it is. We talked a little bit about what your purpose and mission is. You give the name.
Urban Cadence,
Okay.
DANCE, dance, Urban Cadence, and it's urbancadencepdx.com. Yeah, I just I just really feel passionate about kids doing extracurriculars in the first place. I just think it's really important for kids to be busy and have something. And for me, dance is what I had, so that's why I'm obviously focusing on dance. But I also feel really passionate that it is a good environment for kids and for parents to, learn about it. And as much as my career and growing up was a bit traumatizing, it doesn't outweigh how much positivity I got out of the experience. And I wouldn't give any of that up. And the more I can offer that to children and get them into the building and give them opportunity to dance, I'm really hope I can keep doing that and do it bigger than I've been able to so far.
Yeah. I do have a question. As somebody who, again, small daughters, interested in ballet, and there's something kind of fun and, romantic about it when you've got small children like, oh, yeah, I want to dance ballet. What would you suggest somebody to look out for or kind of keep in mind with a small kid that's interested in ballet in terms of evaluating a school or a company? What is a great program? Again, you said what ideally might a great program look like versus an instructor who is just, they're strict and they're structured and that's just expected. Like, what do you suggest folks look for to get into a really good program?
Making sure they're really accepting of all bodies and all looks of kids and not trying to fit them into a mold. I don't really believe that there is one mold for a dancer. It's an art form. So when they're trying to make everybody look the same, I think that's a really big problem. I think nowadays we have a lot of buzzwords going on, like body confidence and mental health and this and that. So are they saying it and practicing it, or are they just saying it to get you in the door? Because I see a lot of that of like, oh, we really practice mental health here. But do you know what mental health is? Are you somebody that experiences good mental health and know who to ask or who to talk to? So I think just really making sure that they're not just checking boxes, but really involved with everybody personally and making sure personalities are being heard and seen and not conforming. I don't think conforming is good direction.
Gotcha.
And I will say this is just something that I've really enjoyed in my life past ballet of there is nothing more joyful than watching kids dance. And if you're like a current dancer who's a little like curmudgeony about it, or if, you're just not that into it, go watch kids on stage maybe mess up because they're kids and they're kind of dodo, but watching kids dance just fills my cup and my heart so much because they're so just free and happy out there. And I think go watch that and make sure they keep that as they get older. Things get harder and tougher, but if they've lost their joy for it, something's not right.
That is the most amazing way to wrap up this episode of Under NDA. Sarah, this has been eye-opening and it's amazing. And I really need to find that Oliver video because it is incredible. The world deserves to see this video. But again, thank you so much for joining us. Next episode, as we continue in the world of ballet, we will have a male ballet dancer named Jared who will join us and we will talk through his experience. But until then, thank you so much, Sarah. We really loved your insights.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
It's great to talk with you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Tune in weekly on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you like to find your podcasts. If you have a story you'd like to share or you'd like to join us on the show as a guest, visit underndapodcast.com and drop us a line. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.